Last week, someone tried to buy an ad in Thomas's newsletter for $150, but in just a few days, we turned that into a $5,000 sponsorship agreement. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact three-step process that we used to close the sponsorship for almost 20 times more than the sponsor originally wanted to pay. You can follow the exact same steps to unlock a ton more sponsorships revenue from your own newsletter too, even if you only have a few thousand or even a few hundred subscribers. Let's dive in. But first, if you're new here, hey, my name's Louis. The top newsletters have used my products and coaching to generate tens of millions in extra revenue and add almost 100 million quality new newsletter subscribers. And now I'm sharing the exact same tools, playbooks, and insider secrets to grow and monetize your own newsletter totally free. Thomas runs a local newsletter out in a small town in the US. He's already got about 8,000 subscribers, and because I'm going to share all the real numbers and the actual emails that he sent in this video, he's asked me to keep his newsletter and the name of his sponsors anonymous. One more piece of background info that you're going to need. This sponsor, let's call her Anna, she's a realtor in the town where Thomas runs his newsletter. She's actually already paid about $200 to run an ad in Thomas's newsletter a few weeks ago, and she got pretty great results. So Thomas reached back out to her and asked if she wanted to buy another ad slot. This is her response. Hi Thomas, thanks for following up. That last ad was great. I've already had 11 inquiries from it. I'd like to run another ad, but can we do $150 instead? I'm a bit worried that I won't get that much interest reaching your audience again so soon after last time. Okay, so now we've got a $150 newsletter ad request from Anna. And in Thomas's situation, most newsletter operators I know would just say yes, and then they'd lose out on thousands of dollars. So let's drill into exactly how I helped Thomas to avoid that mistake. And if you only take away one lesson from this video, make sure it's this next one. The key to making a lot of money from newsletter sponsorships is an understanding the difference between those two terms that I just used, an ad versus a partnership. You see, Thomas, like most newsletter operators, he was just selling ads in his newsletter. So what's the first thing Anna did when she received Thomas's pitch for his ad? She compared like with like. How did the price of his ad compare to how much it would cost to buy an ad to reach the same number of people in other places, like Facebook ads or Google ads? And guess what? You really don't want to be compared to Facebook and Google when it comes to deciding how much it costs to reach 5,000 people. Because on that basis, even Anna's $150 counter offer would have been way too high. Here's what smart newsletter operators who want to make a lot of money from newsletter sponsorships do instead. They don't sell ads and get limited by the low prices of ads on Facebook or Google. Instead, they sell partnerships, where there's no direct comparison for the sponsor to make at all. So you can create a totally unique price based on the value that you can actually drive for the sponsor, which allows you to charge a lot more than you can for a traditional newsletter ad. Now, don't worry if this isn't quite clicking into place for you just yet. To go from selling cheap newsletter ads to building partnerships that print revenue, you only need to follow 3 steps. Here's the breakdown of how I walk Thomas through those exact same 3 steps so that you can follow along. Starting with number 1, understanding the value. If you want a sponsor to pay you a lot for a partnership deal, you need to be able to paint them a picture of how that deal is going to be a good investment for them. And that means understanding how you can actually create value for the sponsor and their brand. In Thomas's case, that started with a bit of research into how realtors like Anna actually make money. For each new client a realtor takes on, they can earn thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. And that means that each new inquiry or potential client in realtor speak that Thomas can send Anna's way is worth at least hundreds of dollars. So if, like Anna says in her email, the last ad she ran in Thomas's newsletter resulted in 11 inquiries, that's already thousands of dollars in value that Thomas sent to Anna, and she only paid about $200 for. So now that we can be confident that Thomas can drive a lot of value for Anna, it's time to move on to step 2, the partnership idea. Newsletter ads are boring. To be honest, people skip over them most of the time as if they weren't even there in the first place. So if you want to justify an expensive partnership price, you need to come up with some sponsored newsletter content that goes above and beyond a normal ad. And I find there are 3 criteria for that. Number 1, you need to create some content that your audience actually wants to read. It needs to be something that drives value for the sponsor. It needs to be something that you can repeat multiple times without it getting stale and getting the readers to gloss over it. And that last point is super important, and it's something that nowhere near enough newsletter operators think about. Because selling a one-off sponsorship is great, but if you can come up with a sponsored content idea where the content changes slightly every week, you can turn that one-off sale into recurring revenue where they pay you every month for months or even years on end. And that is way easier than going out to find new sponsors every week. Now, Thomas struggled a bit with this step too, until I gave him a tip that helps me come up with great partnership ideas for my own newsletters. Imagine that the sponsor's product is your own product, and you're selling it in your own newsletter. If this were your product that you owned, how would you do it differently? When I asked Thomas to do that and to put himself in Anna's shoes, he immediately began to come up with creative, good sponsored content ideas because he wasn't restricted to the idea of it being an ad. For example, how about coming up with a new weekly guess the close price section for the newsletter, where each week Thomas could share details of a house in the local area that just sold, and the audience could guess how much it sold for, with a prize for the closest to the real answer. Now, in the end, we settled on a slightly different idea, a real estate opportunity of the week section. Each Saturday, Thomas would include one of the houses from Anna's company in his newsletter, along with a link to find out more, and a pitch to work with Anna to find your dream house. This covers all 3 main criteria of a good partnership. It's interesting for readers, it drives value in the form of leads for the sponsor, and with a different house every week, it's easily repeatable. Plus, the extra bonus of this being a completely new sponsored content section rather than an ad is that it leaves open that main ad slot so that Thomas can sell that to another partner or brand in the future, giving them an extra revenue opportunity in every newsletter. So now all we needed was for Anna to say yes, which takes us to step 3, the pitch. Here's the exact pitch email that Thomas sent to Anna. Let's walk through it and dissect what's going on. Hi Anna, thanks so much for your interest. I actually wanted to share a totally new partnership opportunity with you that I think would be the perfect fit for you. Okay, so what Thomas is doing here is he's immediately switching gears away from that old conversation about ads, which was anchored at that super low $150 price point, and into something different, giving him the opportunity to pitch something that will be a lot more expensive. Running that last ad of yours made me realize how excited our audience is about real estate opportunities. Going forward, I'm actually going to turn that into a regular newsletter section where I highlight a great local real estate opportunity in every Saturday send. Here's a quick mock-up of what I'm thinking it'll look like. I'm going to partner with a local realtor to make this a sponsored section. The realtor can choose the property each week, and we'll link to their site to give them our personal recommendation. We're going to post a weekly video for our audience on Instagram and TikTok too. Okay, so what Thomas is doing here is he's making it super easy for Anna to understand what the partnership's about and to visualize it with a quick AI-generated mockup that took just a few seconds to make. Remember, with a partnership, it's not really about the ad placement in the newsletter. It's about your personal recommendation and how they can use that content elsewhere as well. That's why the Instagram Reel is such a great idea. You're basically getting paid to create social content that will also drive new subscribers to your own newsletter. I know it'll be a really great opportunity to get fresh inquiries from our audience every week, especially as we plan to grow from 8 to 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you remember, in Anna's original email, she was worried about the audience that Thomas has being stale because they've already seen the ad. Now this section that Thomas wrote here, it does a great job of overcoming that objection by talking about all the new subscribers who are going to be joining in the future. All of a sudden, you're not selling the 7,000 subscribers you already have. You're selling the next 20, 30,000 that are going to be added soon. Let's move on. Pricing to be our exclusive real estate partner will be $320 a week, billed quarterly, a steal even if we only drive 3 to 4 inquiries a week. I love this way that Thomas is pitching the pricing. The pricing is actually going to be paid quarterly, which makes it about $4,000. But because Thomas pitches it on a weekly basis, it seems way more affordable. And he does a decent job of pairing the price with the expected value. Maybe he could have done that a little bit better, but let's not nitpick too much right now. Because you took a chance on us early though, I'd be happy to offer you a 25% discount if you want to lock in the exclusive partnership rights through the end of the year. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll save the spot for you until next Friday before we have to open it up to other interested parties. Okay, so the way Thomas is pitching a discount in return for a longer term contract is super smart and it works super well. Same thing with the exclusivity agreement, because you've got to remember, from Anna's point of view, she's not just paying for the partnership now, she's also paying so that some asshole realtor who's her biggest competitor can't have that partnership, which is worth even more. And finally, I really like how Thomas creates urgency. He's going to hold open the deal until Friday. Maybe there are other competitors of Anna's who are already waiting. What happens then? So how did Thomas's email pitch go to Anna? Well, a few hours later, Anna reached back out to set up a call with Thomas, and they had a few questions about the format of the section and a couple of hold-ups about having everything built in advance, which, to be honest, especially in local media space, is pretty normal. But a few minor changes, and about 24 hours later, Anna agreed to become the exclusive sponsor through the rest of the year. That's $240 a week for 24 weeks, a total of $5,760, which is almost 40 times more than Anna was originally prepared to pay with her original $150 offer. And there's no reason that Thomas can't continue this for all of next year either. That's potentially another $10,000 a year in extra revenue, with not much extra work for Thomas and a lot more value for his subscribers. Literally anyone can do this. You could do the exact same thing for your newsletter too, just by following the same 3 steps. Number 1, understand the value for a potential sponsor. Number 2, come up with a great partnership idea that's repeatable and valuable both for the sponsor and for your audience. And number 3, just pitch it convincingly. Use Thomas's sample email as an outline and as a draft. But first, watch this live coaching call to see which other common newsletter monetization mistakes you're making today.